Let's get underway.
We have an illustrious guest with us today, the pride of Savannah, Georgia, midfielder for the Philly Union, and your favorite man named after a Harrison Ford character, Indy Vassilev. Indy, thanks so much for joining. Of
Hey, thanks for having me.
course. So, Savannah, not known for producing powerhouse soccer players. How'd you end up choosing
hmm
soccer over football? Personally, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, so I suffer with
Yeah.
that. I don't know how much longer I can do it, but did you also grow tired of the Falcons and want to choose something else?
So I got into soccer or football through my dad and my grandfather, who both played professionally in Bulgaria. My dad ended up signing a professional contract when he was around 16 or 17. And then I believe once that contract ran out, he came to play college in the US, played at an NAIA school in Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
And he was there for I believe 2 years. And prior to that, I think he played at Marshall. And his coach's name was Bob Gray, which is just, I guess, a small fact that I always remember for some reason. And then he moved to Savannah after college. He settled down, and then I kind of just picked it up because I had Bulgarian parents, and it kind of just ran in the family. And yeah, I kind of just picked it up from there. I've been kicking a ball since I was 3 years old. And yes, it has been very tough supporting the Falcons, especially after that 28-3 lead we had with
Yeah,
like
we
two
don't really
minutes
have
left
to
in
touch on that if you don't want to.
the
That day was probably the saddest I think I've ever been. I remember my wife being like, "Are you sure you don't want to have a party? Like you're
Yeah,
watching the Falcons every single day." I'm like, "If they lose, you
yeah.
have no idea how like little I want to be around people right now." And I
hmm
think I took probably like the quietest 30-minute walk I've ever taken right
Yeah,
after
it
that.
was tough. Listen, it was tough. It still is tough. I think the Falcons lost a lot of fans for, I'd say, 1 to 2 years in that moment.
Yeah.
Um, just through pure frustration and sadness, I guess. It was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my wife always tells me, like, why are you watching this team when it brings you nothing but sadness? I'm like, but
Yeah.
if they win, it'll be amazing. It'll
Yes, yes,
rival my kids being born. Like, that's how I will feel.
yeah,
But
yeah.
unfortunately, we're not there. But yeah, you grew up in Savannah. You ended up going over to IMG. How was that
hmm
process? Like, were they scouting you? I know that you ended up moving on to Aston Villa's academy, but what was that
hmm
process of getting to IMG?
It was kind of, I wouldn't say luck of the draw, but it was kind of random the way the whole thing happened. So I would go to these ID camps,
Mhm.
these like national team ID camps when I was 12, 13 years old. And I think through that process, um, one of the coaches at one of those ID camps recommended me to one of his friends who was a coach at IMG at the time. His name was Marcelo Carrera. And then I think it was just kind of a cold email or an email that got sent to, I believe it was my parents at the time. Um, and that was midway through eighth grade, and I was very young, and so I ended up going to check it out for a couple days on a weekend. Um, and obviously, being a young kid, IMG's campus was fantastic
Mhm.
back then. Now, even more so, it's amazing. I did preseason at IMG this year, and their facilities are. I mean, they have so many new things built up that weren't there when I was.
Yeah.
Uh, but even back then, it was such a spectacular facility, and it was weird. I think I had a part in it, and I think my parents also you know, wanted me to succeed, and they thought that was the best thing for me. And I also thought the same way as well. So I ended up going to IMG for, I believe it was maybe around 4 years. But I think half of those years I was with IMG, and the other half
Mhm.
of the other 2 years I was with the residency program
Okay.
with Jim Hackworth, who I ended up uh, connecting with again when I went to St. Louis, as well as a lot of under 17s that I used to play with too.
Yeah. So you ended up going from IMG to Aston Villa. You get loaned out to Burton Albion, and I always get this wrong. Cheltenham Town?
Cheltenham
Ch-
Town, yeah, there you go.
Okay. But you're playing in these like small little towns all over England.
Mhm.
I mean, you play in MLS now and it's like these big grandiose stadiums.
Mhm.
Is there something like to those small towns, like besides the food being really shocking? Is it like a shock to the system to play in these smaller venues that just have, packed out with fans?
Uh, yeah, I think there's positives from every experience that I've had. That definitely being one of them. The venues are definitely smaller, but the fans are just as passionate, if not
Yeah.
more. Um, because I feel like maybe nowadays with these new teams, they bring in money and they bring in, and maybe you have plastic fans, maybe you
Hmm.
don't. But with these smaller teams and these, I hate calling them smaller clubs because to the fans, they're the biggest club in their
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah, definitely.
Um, but the fans are so passionate, and it's almost you can feel the pressure because the stadiums might be smaller, but they're there's a decent amount of people for the stadiums, and you can definitely hear everything they're saying. So there still was that pressure,
Yeah.
uh, which is good because pressure's a privilege, and like I said, I think every experience that I've had, I've learned from, and it's been amazing to live through that.
Mhm.
And yeah, Burton and Cheltenham were definitely an interesting yet integral part of my career.
Did you feel any added pressure just being an American coming over? I know a lot of English fans tend to not
Mhm.
like American players,
Mhm.
but I mean, you played well, so like, how was that mentally?
I didn't feel any added pressure being an American. I felt added pressure when I was on loan to said smaller clubs from an Aston Villa,
Hmm.
who's a giant of a club in England. I
Yeah,
felt pressure to perform because I was coming from a big club with a lot of history, with the history of having a great academy. So I felt more pressure in terms of that rather than um, people not treating me fairly because I was American. I
gotcha.
still do think there's an American bias.
Yeah,
Um, I still do think there's an American bias in Europe, most definitely. However, I don't think that applied to me.
yeah, yeah. And then you ended up after those two loan stints getting sent over to Inter Miami twice,
Mhm.
actually. How
Yeah.
was that part of your decision of wanting to come back and be closer to home, or was that
Mhm.
you're looking for playing time and here's a team led by David Beckham that you get to join?
It was it was more so I was looking at playing time
Hmm.
because when I was at Burton and Cheltenham, it was very difficult for me to have consistency or have any sort of string of starts uh, at those clubs through no fault of anybody but my own. I think I always turn back to myself, and I needed to be better in those situations. In terms of when I trained or when I came on in games, I think I definitely could have done more. Looking back, so I don't blame anybody but myself for not playing as much as I did at those clubs. Um, and that league, I mean, those leagues are brutal, and those are brutal leagues. You're playing Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And then I think that decision was the decision to come back to the US was more so just so I could get more playing time and try and get a string of starts under my belt in men's football. Um, and it just so happened that Miami was interested and it was close to home and it ended up
Hmm.
working out. So that was also a really, really cool experience. I ended up leaving just before um, Messi and Co ended up going there. So.
Yeah. Which your rights ended up getting sold to St. Louis City, which is
Mhm.
such an MLS thing
Oh,
to
such an
be said.
MLS. To be honest, when it happened, I still didn't know what it meant. I was like,
Yeah.
so am I contracted to these guys now, or am I still contracted to
Well, I
Bill?
mean, the
It was
constant
weird.
joke is the discovery rights of it's like, oh, you discovered Messi. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. But you end up getting a transfer over to St. Louis City.
Mhm.
First linked up with Bradley Carnell there. How
Mhm.
was that experience of playing for an expansion club that right off the jump had fans packed out, which,
Yeah.
you don't really think of an expansion team having such a rich
Mhm.
history as St. Louis does.
Mhm. It was it was amazing, and the fact that we performed well almost. enhanced the feeling of not only the team, but the fans, the staff, pretty much everyone involved in St. Louis City. The feeling and the emotion was enhanced just because we also were successful. I think
Yeah.
if we weren't successful and we were more of a losing team, it wouldn't have been as special. But because we were successful and we won the West and a lot of things went our way, we forced our luck, and we were also good, albeit we got bounced first round. Um, we were a good team, and I think that is due to how Brad and the staff wanted us to play, and the players bought in, and we ended up being very successful, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and the fans in St. Louis are what make that team and that city special. And I can only wish that they continue to do so.
Yeah. And your time in St. Louis ended this off season shortly after Bradley Carnell took over the coaching gig in Philly, traded a cool million game for you, which is another wildly MLS thing. What was the conversation like when you got that call? Was it like in talks, or were you just like excited to play for Brad again?
It was a little bit of both. It was just trying to get it over the line, and then once it was over the line, there wasn't too much said. It's kind of just, you know, put your pads on or put your boots on and just get ready to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And then another coach in this league that you have quite a long history with, Dean Smith. He's the coach
Yeah.
of Charlotte. They're also having a great season, like you guys are, tied on
Yeah.
points at this time of recording.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, I think June 14th is when you guys are going to go head to head, which will be your first time playing against
Yeah.
him.
Mhm.
Famously gave you your shot at Villa.
Yeah.
Have you given any thought onto what that's going to be like?
Not too much, to be honest with you. Um, I'm very gracious and I'm very grateful for him trusting me, putting me in some Premier League games and giving me my debut in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. So very, very grateful to him. I wish nothing but success for him, except against Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
I honestly hope we beat them. I'll just put it like that.
Yeah, just a quick statement win.
Yeah. Aside from that, I honestly wish him the best. I'll be very happy to see him, give him a hug. Um, and yeah, like I said, just very grateful to him.
Yeah. And then Philly right now, you guys are having an incredible run. A lot of pundits on MLS weren't giving you guys the time of day, and now it seems
That's
like you guys
okay.
are the belle of the ball. Has it been just like a culmination leading up to this of just constant like high pressure systems like that
hmm
lead to turnovers and chances? Like
hmm
what if you can like single out that one thing that like has made Philly so dominant this season?
hmm The one thing that's made Philly so dominant this season, I know, I know that our system is high pressure and people maybe don't like to point out the fact that we have a lot of quality players in a lot of different positions. And yes, you can have a high pressure system and it can work, but I think we are so successful because we do genuinely have so much quality in the back, middle, and attacking third. We do have
Hmm.
quality everywhere. So even if the pressing system doesn't work and it doesn't look like a pretty game and it's an ugly game, we can then not fall back on, but we have so much quality that we can create a moment out of nothing.
Hmm.
Um, Great example is this weekend. This weekend against DC, it was a very tough game. Then you have Jacob Glesnes, our center back, with an unreal volley. I mean, the
Yeah.
highest quality goal.
Yeah.
And then you have Danley Jean-Jacques, another super high quality goal. And then you build momentum, and then from there it becomes 3-0. And people who don't watch the game look at the score and go, oh, wow, Philadelphia Union's rolling. Like they killed those guys 3-0. And yes, we won. And yes, it was dominant in a way, but those moments of quality kind of push us over the edge.
Hmm.
So yes, it is a high pressure system, and that's our style of play, and we have our principles, and we want to follow those principles. But I think the thing that's pushing us over the edge is that we do have moments of individual brilliance, which I think will continue because you don't really, I don't think you lose quality. I think it's there
Yeah,
or
you
it's
don't
not
lose
there.
talent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's there, it's not there, and I most definitely think we have it all around the field.
Yeah. And then switching over to your national career, recently got called up for your first ever senior
Mhm.
national team debut under the new US coach. What was that experience like?
It was really cool. It was really cool. Everything that the national team does is top quality from the bottom to the top. From it, I mean, genuinely, every single staff member was top quality. The coaching staff's really cool. They're super chill off the field. On the field, very demanding, which I'm sure is how a lot of players, including like to have it. And then yeah, it was awesome that we got two good results too. So
Yeah.
just a very, very good experience, and just leaves you wanting more.
Yeah. And now that you're in Philly, a very historical town with very well-known fan base, how is
Mhm.
it playing at Subaru Park in front of those fans?
Uh, it's it's honestly it is so special. It's it's funny because when you play away at Philly and you're an away team, you don't like it. You don't
Yeah.
want to play Philly away. You think the refs are against you. You think you hate the fans. The fans are nasty. And like on the flip side, when you're a Philadelphia Union player, it's like wow, like we're playing at home. Like let's freaking go. We're playing at home.
Yeah.
We'll have the fans behind us. And just that momentum builds, and it's just like I said, it's super special. And um, I don't really have to hope for the fans to do it all year long because I know the fans will do it all year long, and it's
Yeah,
up
they
to the
bring that
players
quality.
to it's up to the players to continue to make them proud.
Yeah. All right. And then now, if we have a little bit of time, now
Mhm.
that you've been a resident of Philly for a little bit, I
Yeah.
think you're well acquainted to play this game. It's
Okay.
called What's Your John? So I'm going to go through, give you two options of which one you prefer.
Okay.
And if you feel like there's explanation needed, feel free to.
Okay.
I will, in post, cue some cheesy game music from the 70s. First question, Philly cheesesteak or Mashana Scara?
I'm gonna have to go with the Philly cheesesteak. The
Okay.
amount of Philly cheesesteaks that I have had since I've come here is actually unreal. I think I've probably had over 10 cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is controversial. The best cheesesteak I've had is from Angelo's, and it's
Okay.
not, and I don't even think it's close.
That was going to be my follow-up. I didn't want to give out a free endorsement for anybody, but I was going to ask if you landed on your favorite yet. Is there
Yes.
something that sets that apart from all the other ones that you've tried?
They have this seeded roll, and the
Okay.
seeded roll is soft on the inside, but a little crunchy on the outside. And the meat's always quite tender, and the cheese is always really warm and like sticky. It's
Okay.
a very, very good cheesesteak. And I haven't had better since I've been here.
Okay.
Mhm.
Pretty dominant endorsement right there.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not meaning to. I'm just speaking from the heart here.
Yeah, no, I mean, you should. And then next question, tasty cakes or a Philly ch soft cheese pretzel?
Tasty cakes. I
Oh,
think I've had
uh-oh.
tasty cakes before. Is that bad?
I mean, my brother lives in Philly and he says that it is like a Philly thing.
Well, I haven't had tasty cakes. I mean, I have had a Philly soft pretzel, and they're
Okay.
fantastic.
All right, so we'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one until I try a tasty cake. I kind of want to look it up now. I don't know what it is.
Very sugary. Um,
Okay. Excuse
all
me.
right, who would win in a brawl? At this point, Philly mascot or Philly Union mascot is out.
Hmm.
Gritty or the Philly Fanatic? And for a bonus point, which one is more likely to haunt your dreams?
This is bad for me. This is bad for me. I think I only know one of those mascots.
Well, have you seen Gritty?
I don't think I have. The
Oh,
Philly Fanatic, I'm pretty sure I know what it looks like.
yeah, he has like kind of like a snuffleupagus nose.
Oh, Gritty. I'm getting stats right now. Gritty is 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Rough texture with courage and determination. And then the other one was who? The Philly Fanatic.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting live looks at this. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is a great question. Well, the Philly Fanatic's only 6'6" though, so kind
Yeah.
of height
Shorter
advantage.
reach.
Wow. That's a really t you know what? I think I would have to go with Gritty simply because Gritty is in that hockey atmosphere and
Yeah.
he's seen brawls and he's used to that type of environment, whereas the Philly Fanatic isn't really used to that, you know?
Yeah. And he's got those shifty eyes. You don't really know if you can trust him. You don't
Yeah,
know which
I
way he's gonna
agree. I
go.
agree. He's 7 foot tall too. I mean, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
absurd.
Um, and then least looking forward to Philly winters or Birmingham winters?
Ooh. The Philly winter we just had lasted a little too long, to
Yeah.
be honest. And it was cold. And Birmingham winter, I think there was only one winter when I was there where it snowed a lot.
Yeah. A lot of rain.
A lot of rain though. And
Yeah.
it's cold. Honestly, it's a great question. So it's which one I would prefer?
Which one you're least looking forward to?
Least looking forward to. Dang.
Or I guess we can do glass half full and do most looking forward to.
I would say I would probably most look forward to the Philly winter just because I know that the summer's coming. I know the summers are very hot. So
Mhm.
at least I know there's a little bit of a break from the cold. Whereas in England, I don't really know. I think there was only one pretty hot summer that I remember.
Yeah. Okay. And then there are two very famous Georgia players on the Philadelphia Eagles, Nolan
Go
Smith and
dogs.
Jalen Carter.
Go dogs. Woo!
Uh, who would you rather hit the A gap first?
Against who? Against who?
Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter?
Oh, that's a horrible question. Oh my God. To be honest with you, I don't even know how to answer that question. By the way,
Jalen Carter has the size. Nolan Smith has the speed. So are you
Nolan
gonna?
Smith grew up in Santa Georgia, I think.
Yeah.
So shout out Savannah again. I honestly, if I was in all seriousness, if I was running and I would go into the A gap and I saw either of them, I think I'm just taking a knee.
Yeah. I mean, you got to.
I honestly don't even think I want to make a choice, because I think both of them would just run me over completely and I'd just be pancaked.
Yeah. All right. Picture this. Tonight, you get locked in the training facility.
Okay.
Overnight, there's no way to get out. Who
Mhm.
would you rather be stuck in there with? Nathan Harriel or Jovan Lukic?
Oh, that's a tough question. I love both of those guys. Oh man, I honestly, I don't really care to be honest. They're both great guys. I can have great conversations with both of them. I probably should say Nate just because I've known Nate for much, much longer. So
Hmm.
I guess I'll have to say Nate Harrell. If you were forcing me to choose, I'd say Nate.
Okay.
Uh, but Jovan's still a great guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that you're kind of a movie buff. I come from the film background. That's what
Mhm.
I do as my day job. So I'm gonna ask you these last two questions are kind of movie based.
Okay.
Reading Terminal Market.
Mhm.
Well, which would you rather do on
Yeah.
your off day? Go to Reading
Okay.
Terminal Market
Yep.
or recreate scenes from National Treasure?
Honestly, I would rather recreate scenes from National Treasure.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
my honest answer.
besides,
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why,
okay.
Tyler. I went to Reading Terminal. I don't think you can go to Reading Terminal without it being absolutely ram-packed.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like I understand that's what Reading Terminal is. Like that's the allure of it. You have a lot of restaurants, people or shops, people love to go there. It's a tourist attraction. Like I understand, but for me it's very overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I still thought it was really cool, but
Yeah.
I'd rather recreate scenes.
Okay. And then the last question for What's Your John? There are two well-known movies based on sports figures in Philly. Vince
Mhm.
Papale, portrayed by Mark Wahlberg in Disney's semi-hit Invincible,
Yep. Yep.
or a little indie film starring Sly Stallone as Rocky,
Yep.
which would you prefer to star in?
Easy question. Rocky. Gotta be
Okay.
Rocky. I mean, I'm not saying.
No, just throwing shade at Mark Wahlberg. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm not throwing shade. The former film is really good, but the latter, Rocky, is just a legendary film franchise. I
Yeah.
mean, that was one of the first things I did was I went to the Rocky steps.
I
You
was going to
have
ask if you've done that yet.
Yeah, I had to. And it was actually on an off day after a game, so I did not run up the steps. I very slowly, one step at a time, climbed the steps. But I got to the top at the end.
Yeah. Amazing,
Yeah.
man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That has been What's Your John. You can find it trademarked wherever you get podcasts. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Indy.
Of course.
It's a pleasure to have you. Is there anything that you want to plug that maybe you're looking forward to coming up here?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a golf tournament in May.
Okay.
There's a golf tournament in May. It's like the PGA Tourist Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have like a three game week that week. But I'm definitely gonna try and get tickets. Because I think Rory's coming. Well, I know Rory's coming, and I know a lot of other PGA pros are coming. I haven't really seen anybody else. I kind of just saw Rory was coming, and he just won the Masters, so I was super excited and giddy about it. So I will definitely be attending that one way or another.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for joining us. Good luck on your season.
Of course. Thank you so much.
This is Indy Vassilev.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you.
Underway has been brought to you by 818 Productions. Any use of Underway, either acquired through podcast or video format that is captured by a third party with proper credentials, requires the direct written consent of 818 Productions and must be used in compliance with all requirements and restrictions stated therein.